today's guest is a health coach. Vanessa Sturman is a plant-based health coach and the founder of companies Energize and Thrived Plant-Based. And she joins me now. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tell me, how do you describe, Vanessa, what exactly a health coach is?
Yeah, so I'm here to help people really with the how-to of healthy eating. So eating specifically is the bit that I really specialize in, and helping them never diet again and build in the healthiest foods into their lifestyle that actually works. Because there's a lot of advice out there. Oh, just, cut out sugar. That doesn't work either. Just eat more protein. And people are really asking, well, how does this actually look? How can I really have thriving health, a healthy weight, and not give anything up? And I help them do that within their busy lives in a way that's actually sustainable and very delicious.
So what is the key to that? Because I feel there's constantly all these different messages happening all at once that seem to contradict each other. Like you're told, eat more protein, but don't have too much protein, and have some vegetables, but don't have too much fruit because there's sugar in it. Like, there seems to be just so much messaging. It can be really overwhelming to the point you think, well, what actually can I eat? What do you think is a good starting point with trying to work out what a good, healthy meal looks like?
Yeah, so first of all, it can look different for everyone as well. And it can involve so many different kinds of food. And, you don't have to eat, grains that may feel exotic like quinoa. People sort of can get very intimidated very quickly. Rice is fantastic, for example, but it's really about the balance on your plate, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So we can also look at what most people are not getting enough of. So we know that most people are not getting enough fiber. About 1 in 10 of us are not getting enough fiber, which is so key for keeping us more full, for feeding our good gut bacteria, for helping, to prevent all sorts of diseases. So we know we need to get more fiber onto our plate. So a really great starting point is add more fruit and vegetables. And yes, I totally hear you on this messaging about the sugar in fruit. And it really drives me, myself and everyone else in the industry, a little bit bonkers, actually, because we need to be eating more fruit. And actually, the sugar in fruit is totally fine. And what you've got in fruit is you've got a food that is high water content, which means it's going to keep you fuller for longer and hydrate you. It's got fiber that feeds your good gut bacteria. It's got lots of micronutrients in. We need to be eating more fruit. Only about 3 in 5 adults is even eating their 5 a day, and that's, should be minimum 5 a day. So we need to eat more of these foods. And actually, if you hear things from influencers that are very black or white or seriously demonize certain foods, that's where we need to look and say, oh, actually, I'm not sure this fear-mongering information is correct. So I would really start with more fruit and veg onto the plate, a nice balance of some good complex carbs, your potatoes, your grains, some protein, and good fats, things like avocado, olives, really, really fantastic for us.
Do you notice a connection with people eating unhealthily and a lack of time to cook? Because I find that's when I'm at my least healthiest eating, is when I'm needing to just grab something on the go really quickly, or I'm getting back from work and I'm knackered and I can't be bothered to cook anything, so I just do something really, really quick that often isn't that healthy. How do we manage to eat healthily when we don't feel like we've got much time to cook?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question, because this is often what people say, but I don't have time, and that is completely legitimate. But what we haven't had is real education on food and nutrition. So we can all be very busy, and I'll tell you, I can be super, super busy myself. And the way I help people is to relook at the time that they've got and how you prepare. So some people are actually missing out on some really great things they could do to save time. So they'll make a dish. They'll say, well, I'll make a bit extra, maybe for one meal. Some people look at how much food I make and they go, oh my goodness, there's an army coming round. And I say, the army is me. This will go in the freezer. I'll have some for a few days as well, if you get some really, really good Tupperware in your house. So what I find is people often don't have the educational tools or the physical tools. If you don't have that Tupperware there, you may say, I don't know how to store this actually. And it's stops you doing that. So there's these things we can do to prepare. And the other thing is knowing what could I have really quickly? And one that a lot of my clients love is avocado on toast. So very, very quick. Everyone loves a bit of avocado on toast. And it's the sort of thing that you could just add extras to. You could roast some vegetables, for example, and you could have done that a couple of days ago and roasted a big tray of them. I've actually got a Tupperware of roasted vegetables in my fridge, and I, dump some of those quickly on avocado on toast when I don't have much time in between meetings. So you can be adding things like that, then adding beans and lentils, fantastic for reducing cravings and to feed our good gut bacteria. And you can really just put that together very quickly on the go. Or, when you're cooking dinner and people get very hungry while they cook dinner because they didn't have anything prepared, little things like that, or a bit of, hummus and carrot sticks ready in the fridge, can really go a long way at helping those cravings and helping you prepare more food.
That is a good idea, because I am that person that eats 75 crackers as I'm cooking dinner and then eats my whole dinner as well. And then I think I've just eaten so much food. So that's good advice of the things that can be in your fridge ready to go. What are the kind of things you recommend having in your fridge as an essential thing for things like that, like grazing or just having really quick? And what are the things you recommend are good meals to prepare in advance that you can just have in your freezer and heat up?
Yeah, so things that I'd have, I'm going to go freezer and cupboard here. One of the things, I think you might like this if you eat lots of crackers while you're cooking, is roasted beans. Now, it might sound like I'm obsessed with beans, but they are so fantastic. They're so full of fiber and they've got protein in as well. Fantastic for reducing cravings, and brilliant for helping lower cholesterol, potentially preventing lifestyle conditions. But you can roast chickpeas or other beans, put all sorts of flavors and spices on them. You can even put cocoa powder on them if you want a chocolate version. And they're lovely, they're crunchy once you've roasted them, and they've got that real crisp cracker feel, but they will keep you more full. So those fruit and veg, fantastic. I am going to go freezer now as well. And I'm going to say things like frozen berries that you can stick inside your oats in the morning. People say, yeah, but I didn't, my berries went off in the fridge. Get the frozen ones, fantastic for you. Then your other question was about what can we cook in advance? Now, we can cook anything in advance. You can even, make more rice than you needed and put some in the freezer, or also have some in the fridge. But things like curries and soups are really, really fantastic, because you're chopping up those onions and garlic anyway. You are sometimes annoyingly getting quite a lot of spices out of the cupboard. And, this can make people feel like, I don't want to cook that again. So cook loads, do not be scared to triple the recipe amounts for that big chickpea curry with all those wonderful herbs and spices, and get those into Tupperware. Same with vegetable soups. I make a big smoky black bean soup as well, which is great with bits of avocado and salad with it. So there's lots of things we can do, but generally those big kind of one pot meals are fantastic to make all at once.
It's so interesting, because I do that thing that you said that loads of people do, of just I'll make enough for dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow. And actually that in itself, of just making a vat of soup, is something I'm definitely going to go away and do more of, Vanessa. Vanessa, you're a plant-based health coach. How did you get into the plant-based world?
Yes, well, my journey started really about 20 years ago. So even though and sometimes I play with the name, sometimes I say plant-based, sometimes I just say transformational health coach, because actually I help everyone with their performance and staying a healthy weight. Those are the two biggest things. And actually, all of us need to be building in more plant-based whole foods. Now, I started this journey, like I said, 20 years ago, when I did some really extreme dieting when I was just a teenager. I sort of started about 15. And, I actually ended up with a binge eating disorder. I just either was starving or I just ate everything in sight. And I was incredibly unhappy. It was, like I said, extreme and dangerous dieting. And I made a decision. I'm going to get better. I can't do this. I'm thinking about food all the time. This can't be how you live life. This can't be how to be healthy or how to stay a healthy weight. So I started learning about evidence-based nutrition all the way back then, 20 years ago, to really understand, well, what do I need to put on my plate to stay full, to reduce cravings, to actually eat the food that I love. This is something that I've had since I, was born. I love food. Food is delicious. It should be celebratory. It can look different for all of us. So I really wanted to have that happy life with food. And I also realized, well, look, I also love cake. I want to be able to have cake when I want. I don't want to be restrictive in any sort of way. So I started discovering how to do that, also amongst a busy life, a life where I loved eating out, traveling. So again, these are big things that I help people with now. And I also learned during that time, actually, if we build in more fruits, more vegetables, more beans, actually, these are really fantastic for our health. They help cut cravings. And, actually, we don't have to be restrictive in what we eat in order to have this fantastic health. But about 10 years after that, which is now about 10 years ago, so, I've made that decision to get better when I was 17. About 10 years later, I actually went plant based. Now, I was already eating what you might call quite a plant forward diet, so I was eating a lot of fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, etc. But I found out what we were doing to the animals. I found out that our planet was also being destroyed through animal agriculture, that it's the biggest cause of deforestation, that it's one of the biggest causes of climate change. And I also realized how fantastic the food could be as well. And actually that it would really help my health, but also everyone else's health, if they could build in more of these foods. So that was what got me as sort of an expert in this area. But I help people no matter what their nutritional preference. And I think this is so important that we don't have to divide things into, well, that's plant-based food over there, and over there is something else. That actually, none of us have to fully go vegan or vegetarian, that actually everyone can build in more of these foods that will really help the planet and their health at the same time.
It's interesting because it is, like you mentioned, it's different for everyone, because I definitely have done it in previous years when me and my friends have tried to go vegan for January. Some people be like, oh my God, I've got so much energy since eating completely plant-based. And other people say the opposite. And they're like, I've lost all my energy. And some people that I know like will eat loads of meat and they'll feel that that really helps them feel good. And other people find that meat really doesn't agree with them. So as you say, it's all about people finding what works best for them. Something I'm interested about at this time of year is around Christmas time, we can kind of start talking about how we're going to indulge over Christmas and really treat ourselves and not eat well. And then straight after that comes January, where we're all suddenly talking about trying to get into the gym and eat really healthily and be really clean. How do you think we can all approach this time of year in a way that's healthy and isn't falling into what you described of extreme dieting and going from one end to the other and demonizing food?
Yeah, so this is something that comes up every year. And, I love talking about it because I want to help people. And it can be so, so damaging. And it does come back again. I sound like a broken record. It comes back to education. That actually a lot of people do not know how to put together a balanced meal. And this means that they very quickly fall into cravings. They very quickly fall into good days and bad days. And, this also comes from that demonizing and labeling food. Well, I've had a chocolate. That's obviously bad. You can eat some chocolate and still have thriving health. It's more about what we add to our plate as well. Like I said, you don't have to go fully vegan, but actually everyone's going to benefit from building in more fiber. We know that all of us, most of us, sorry, are not getting enough of that. So I want people to look back to the entire year and start to educate themselves. Really importantly, am I getting enough greens on the plate? What else could I be doing in terms of bulk cooking so that I'm not left in this point where I go, I don't have any time to cook anything healthy? Even what they're grabbing when they're on the go, you can grab nuts and fruit, before a meal with a load of canapes or something like that to make sure you're getting in more of that healthy protein and fiber, for example. But it really does come down to education as well, because a lot of people, you can call it overindulge, because they're actually not giving themselves enough of those, what we might call treats during the rest of the time as well. Or they think that because they're indulging, that every meal now has to be unhealthy. Whereas if you know how to cook very, very tasty food, then actually I could make a massive, beautiful pasta dish and lentil bolognese with garlic bread made in the air fryer with just a little bit of oil and lots of garlic. Yeah, actually, that can taste like a really wonderfully indulgent meal, but it's still healthy for you. And of course, you can still have a bit of dessert. That's not a problem at all. But often it's probably a bit of the deprivation people are giving themselves as well if they are on that yo-yo diet train even before Christmas.
Vanessa, I've learned so much from speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell people, where can they find you to get more information about you?
Oh, thank you. So you can Google me, Vanessa Sturman, if you go on pretty much any platform, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, type in Vanessa Sturman and you should find my account. Now, on Facebook, I do also have a group that everyone is welcome in that is full of fantastic advice for healthy eating, staying a healthy weight, having great performance without giving anything up. And the group is called How to Go Plant-Based, but it's about just building in more of these foods and lots of health advice. So you can type that into Facebook, How to Go Plant-Based, and you are very welcome in there, no matter what dietary preference. You just have to like food.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for coming on. That is the amazing Vanessa Sturman, plant-based health coach and the founder of companies Energize and Thrived Plant-Based.